Oops, we forgot to do 2013. It was one of our first episodes. We weren't doing top 10s yet because we didn't know what we were doing. Did you know that for 2022, we did a top 20?
Did we really?
Yeah, it's too much.
That's a lot, yeah.
Let's do our top 10s. You want to go first?
I'll go first for 2013. I'll throw out a couple of honorable mentions. First, I think this was a really, really good year for movies. Looking at my 11 through 20, there's some really, really strong stuff in here. Ryan Coogler's first movie, Fruitvale Station, came out the year I thought was very good. Woody Allen's Blue Jasmine with a great Cate Blanchett performance. Captain Phillips was this year. Dallas Buyers Club was this year. Thomas Vinterberg did The Hunt with Mads Mikkelsen. Amazing performance. There's also a really, really great movie with James Gandolfini and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, directed by Nicole Holofcener, called Enough Said, that I really, really loved. A number of really excellent movies that didn't quite make my top 10.
I've never seen Blue Jasmine. Some of those you just mentioned, I think, are much better than you gave them credit for. And The Hunt I must have for 2012. Did it come out in Belgium in 2012?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, because I love that movie.
Yeah, that movie is incredible. Well, let me get into now my actual top 10, and you can then you'll be able to tell me where I went wrong by underranking or underrating the movies in my honorable mention list. At number 10, I have a movie directed by Dustin Daniel Cretton. It's called Short Term 12. This was kind of Brie Larson's breakthrough. It also has Lakeith Stanfield in a small role. It's about a foster care facility for at-risk teens. It just kind of follows their the drama that goes on in one of those facilities. Rami Malek is in this movie too, and unlike some of his later movies, he's actually pretty good in this one. My number 9 is a movie we talked about a bit when we did our Jeff Nichols ranking episode. It is called Mud. Matthew McConaughey, probably my favorite McConaughey performance actually. It's about these two boys who find a fugitive who is hiding out, it's somewhere in the deep south. I think it's in Mississippi or somewhere down there. They decide that they're going to help this fugitive escape and get to where he needs to go. Really, really cool movie. And number 8 is a film called Blue is the Warmest Color. It's a love story between two young women. It was a big hit that year. My number 7, Richard Linklater's Before Midnight, the third film in the Before trilogy. Certainly I think the least of these 3 films, but I love all 3 of them very much. Number 6, Alexander Payne's Nebraska. We talked about at great length on our Alexander Payne ranking episode. I love this movie about an older gentleman who thinks he's won something, won a contest, and he wants to travel from Montana to Nebraska to claim his prize. And one of his sons decides he wants to go with him just because he hasn't spent much time with his father and he wants to take that opportunity.
Sorry, just also because his dad is not supposed to drive.
Also because, right, his dad's not supposed to drive, so someone needs to drive him. But yeah, great road trip movie. I mean, great family movie. It's funny. There's some sadness to it. One of the top Alexander Payne movies. The cinematography is just beautiful. One of the best photographed movies in the last 10 or 15 years. My number 5 is I think we might be talking about one of the other Denis Villeneuve movies, but my number 5 movie is Prisoners, which is just a brutal movie, but some of the best work by Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal about a kid that gets kidnapped and the efforts to rescue that kid from their captor. There's some insane sequences in this movie, but I don't know, Logan might still be Hugh Jackman's best role, but if it's not Logan, it's definitely this one. I mean, he is just so good in this. Number 4 for me is Alfonso Cuarón's Gravity. Sandra Bullock's best performance is in this movie. I think it's just a really cool movie, really scary. Thought about getting lost in space. I mean, my God, what would you do? I mean, what a nightmare just to even think about. But I mean, it looks great. Again, cinematography, the score, the effects, everything about it, just a great movie. And this movie made me feel better about, Sandra Bullock got her Oscar for The Blind Side, which is just a whatever movie. But then she came back and did this one a couple years later. And it's like, oh, all right, well, you know what? I feel like she kind of earned it after doing this because she's just so incredible in this movie. And Clooney is really good in this too. Smaller part, obviously, but really good. My number 3, we talked about this one on our Coen Brothers ranking, is Inside Llewyn Davis. Just an incredible movie about a folk singer in the early 60s who's just struggling trying to make it, also just struggling with trying to be a normal person, be a nice person to all the people in his life. It was kind of the breakthrough for Oscar Isaac in a lot of ways. It also has some great supporting performances with Carey Mulligan, John Goodman, Adam Driver has a small part, Justin Timberlake has a small part. Really excellent movie. My number 2 is Steve McQueen's 12 Years a Slave, starring Chiwetel Ejiofor as a man who was a slave for 12 years, and all the effects and everything that comes along with that. Lupita Nyong'o won the Oscar for this movie. She was, of course, terrific in this. Michael Fassbender, also very good in this, and Sarah Paulson has a supporting role in that as well, who was very good. And my number 1, Spike Jonze's Her. Joaquin Phoenix plays a man who falls in love with his operating system, who's voiced by Scarlett Johansson. It's just a unbelievably sweet movie, very moving, just a very unconventional look at the connections that we can try to make in our lives. Chris Pratt actually has a small part in this movie that I always forget about, but he's good at this. Amy Adams, of course, is just amazing in everything. She's got a great little role in this. The movie looks amazing. Like the sets and everything actually are really cool in this. The score is terrific in it. But just that core relationship between Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson is really unique. I think it might actually be Joaquin's best performance, and he's got a number of great ones, but I think he's just really amazing in this.
One movie I'm very surprised I maybe mentioned in the honorable mentions and I got lost, but Tangerines?
That didn't come out in the States till like 2015. I think that's on my 2015.
According to Letterboxd, it had a theatrical run in the States in December 3rd, 2013.
That can't be right, because it was not nominated at the Oscars until the 2015 year. So I think Letterboxd is wrong.
Well, I'll have to check TMDb, but let me go through my top 10 of the year, and Tangerines will show up, but I'm going to go through a few honorable mentions. Johnny To's Drug War, my favorite movie of his. He's directed dozens of movies and claims to have directed dozens more that he doesn't have a credit on. Incredible.
What is this?
Drug War by Johnny To.
Johnny To.
He's a huge Hong Kong action director. The Exile, he did Three Heroes with Michelle Yeoh. He's done like dozens and dozens of movies in Hong Kong. Actually, right now, the Museum of Modern Art is doing a retrospective playing tons of his movies. And I thought about seeing a few. They're never at convenient times for me. I really like August Osage County. I know a lot of people are kind of down on it. I think it's really good. It came out this year. One of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies of this year is Drinking Buddies, which I also think is very good. I mean, I like pretty much everything Jake Johnson is in, and this one's great. Olivia Wilde, before she became a disgraced film director, is very good in this. And then the other two principal actors are Anna Kendrick and Ron Livingston. And it's a nice role for Ron Livingston, who doesn't get a lot of good film roles anymore. He's on TV mostly now. The Way Back is a pretty cool movie. Great Steve Carell villain role. The Wolverine, I talk about a lot as a movie in that series that I like. I also like Gravity. I think it's good. I gave The World's End, which was the end of the Cornetto trilogy, Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogies here. It's like a fun alien invasion movie. And Snowpiercer, Bong Joon-ho's Snowpiercer, which may not have come out until later in the States. But for my money, it's Chris Evans' best movie. Ed Harris is a great villain in it. I mean, and of course, Tilda Swinton just being a maniac, as she does in a lot of Bong Joon-ho stuff and everyone's stuff. That was a lot of honorable mentions, but
every one of those you mentioned, I enjoy and could have made my honorable mention list or anything. I mean, I like all those.
Number 10 is the movie that we discussed on our 2013, or one of the movies we discussed on our 2013 episode. It's In a World. This is Lake Bell's directorial debut. She's great as a voice actor who wants to get a big gig as a in a trailer, like doing the In a World voice in a trailer. It's a very fun movie. Check out our first episode, or don't, because it sounds like crap. But check out In a World. It's very good. My number 9, I'm fairly certain didn't come out in the United States until the following year, but it's Miyazaki's The Wind Rises, which for a while people thought was his final movie, and if you ask me, should have been his final movie because it's a lot better than The Boy and the Heron. It's pretty grounded in reality about a guy who makes planes for Imperial Japan and has mixed feelings about it. Really good stuff. My number 8 is a movie I just saw. I was on an airplane and I watched About Time. So this is by Richard Curtis, who made like Love Actually. Not great, but this movie is incredible. Oh well, okay, you're the one.
I don't love it though. I'm not like obsessed with it, but like I like it. There's enough of the episodes in it that I like.
Fair enough. This is about Domhnall Gleeson falling in love with Rachel McAdams and then learning from his dad, Bill Nighy, that his family has the power to go back in time and fix mistakes. But there are consequences when the more your life has stakes, the more consequences there are to going back in time. What I really liked about this movie is it's not about at the end what you think it's about in the beginning. And I think it builds really well. Nighy and Gleeson have such an amazing relationship in this. Gleeson and McAdams have such great chemistry. It's so sweet. Without being saccharine, I was kind of blown away by it and was surprised and really delighted to see that it's really well liked by a lot of people. And I think it's the kind of feel-good movie that actually works and has like a soul, which is really nice.
Yeah, I like it a lot too. I agree.
My number 7, you talked so beautifully about it, Nebraska. Great movie. We've talked about it at length many times on this podcast. Bruce Stern. And all I'll say is I still don't understand why Will Forte is not in more comedic dramas. He's so good.
Agree.
My number 6 is Prisoners. Denis Villeneuve makes a movie. I put a movie on my list. I also love Prisoners. It's wonderful. You said a lot of great things about it. Paul Dano is outstanding. Terrence Howard is really good in this also. He doesn't get a lot of great chances to shine anymore either, but he was really good in Prisoners. Yeah, and Hugh Jackman, incredible. 2 great performances this year with Logan and Prisoners, and really very different because Logan is so in a different world. Oh, sorry, the Wolverine. And Prisoners is so grounded in reality and despair. My number 5 is a movie that was in your honorable mentions, Fruitvale Station. I was just thinking about Ryan Coogler's filmography recently because he's got a new movie coming out called Sinners, which looks pretty interesting, and I ranked his 4 features that he's made so far, and they've gotten worse as they've gone on. So like Fruitvale Station, I think, is outstanding, incredible. It's a number 5 movie in a great year. Creed is very good, but not as good as Fruitvale Station. And also it's, genre stuff and franchise stuff. Black Panther, pretty good. I think quite overrated, but good and important, creating that kind of diversity in the superhero space. Although now I kind of just want less of the superhero space, but an important movie. And then Black Panther 2, I thought is actually kind of bad and didn't feel like it had much of any kind of a point of view. So I'm really glad he's going back, and hopefully his career can now, from a creative standpoint, rebound with this horror movie that he's made.
Creed 2. What about Creed 2?
He didn't direct it.
Is that true?
Yep.
Who directed Creed 2?
I don't know. Some guy.
That is news to me.
Stephen Capel Jr.? I don't know who that is.
For whatever reason, I really thought Ryan Coogler did the first 2, and then Michael B. took over for the third.
By the guy who did Transformers Rise of the Beasts. So.
Oh, okay.
My number 4 is Tangerines. So you told me to watch this movie, and I'm very thankful that you did. It's about an Estonian guy who gets caught up living a quiet life farming tangerines, and then a regional war comes to his doorstep. It's very, very good. Pretty restrained, pretty small, about a big topic in a small space. We like movies like that on the Never Did podcast. My number 3 didn't come out in the States until 2014. But I count it for many reasons. 1, because this is how I do my rankings, and 2, because I revel in putting 2 Denis Villeneuve movies on my list. So this is Enemy. This is maybe my favorite Denis Villeneuve movie. We talked in a recent episode about how Persona is the female version of this is the male version of Persona, the Ingmar Bergman movie, about Jake Gyllenhaal being at war with himself and what it means to have a pregnant wife and just being afraid of living an adult life as a normal man. Really great movie. My number 2 is 12 Years a Slave, the movie where Brad Pitt produced a movie so that he could be the good guy who solved slavery. Really appreciate you. I love this. The final, or it has like one of the most emotionally impactful final scenes in any movie I've ever seen. Chiwetel Ejiofor's character apologizing for being sold into slavery to his family that he was missing from is just like a wild way to end a movie, and incredible. I will never watch this again. I remember in the theater thinking I will never watch this again, but it was a really powerful movie to watch at the time.
I would say I'll show it to my daughter when she's ready for it, and I should probably say Chiwetel probably should have won the Oscar that year. Like, look, I love that McConaughey has an Oscar, and like that's great. And Dallas Buyers Club was pretty good, but Chiwetel should have won the Oscar that year.
Yeah, it's the kind of movie that I feel like it hasn't been forgotten. I'm glad it won Best Picture. I'm glad that it's like a worthy movie to have done that, but it feels a little bit like the world has let it go a little bit more than like say Schindler's List, which is a similar vibe kind of movie, and I think it's deserving of being remembered in more prominently. And then my number 1 is Inside Llewyn Davis, which is just like one of the most fun movies ever. It's a fake biopic of Dave Van Ronk. It's great. I mean, who knows if he was like that? Maybe not at all. But it's loosely as loose as you can get, because the Coens love loosely basing stuff on stuff. Except for True Grit, which is almost a scene for scene remake of another movie. Yeah, it's great. I remember seeing this in the theater, hungover, and being like, oh, this is exactly what I needed. Great stuff from Oscar Isaac, Justin Timberlake, Adam Driver. Really fun all around. Carey Mulligan, I think maybe the first movie I ever saw her in. And good cat humor too. And also maybe a time loop movie, hard to say, but you could certainly make that argument based on the ending.
Know Her anywhere? You don't like Her?
I do like Her. First off, I've only seen Her twice. I saw Her in the theater and was like, yeah, that movie fucking rocks. And then I saw it again later. I think it's very cool that Her is the other side of Lost in Translation. So those are both movies about the same thing, which is pretty neat. 2 different people's vision of their divorce. That doesn't exist in movies, so it's cool that happened. I want James Cameron and Catherine Bigelow to do that.
I would like James Cameron to do anything but like 8 more Avatar movies. Like I think he just has more to offer. The first Avatar is great. Like it has its place. The second one was kind of whatever, and like you've got more to. I think you just have more to offer than this.
Well, now he's investing in AI, so I think we can write him off completely.
Come on, man!
You made Terminator. What are you doing? Crazy stuff. And then Catherine Bigelow should just be making movies. I don't know where she's been since Detroit.
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but no, I like Her. I don't know if there's no way it would show up on a different list. I think I just like all these movies more. I think it just fell out. Maybe About Time knocked it out. I'm not sure.
It happens.
Yeah, it's a big list. Okay, we'll be back. We're going to do 2015 next in our Lost Top 10 List series. And then there's more. We skipped a few.